As you've seen before, this is Riley's 83 Mustang with 85 front end and LS swapped and yada yada yada.
Starting with the front suspension and 5-lug swap.
Some of the stuff we bought at the end of last year with the intention of doing it this winter. Tubular control arms, what Riley ended up going with.
Wheel dragler.
Weighs in it, it's 20 pounds, which works out, divided 2.2 is 9.1 kilograms.
Looks clean.
Alright guys, welcome back to part 2 of the Riley Mobile suspension makeover. So we're finished the front and we're moving on to the back. We went ahead and got started. Pulled the diff out. It was all stock upper lower control arms. And what are we putting in here? Explain.
Some coilovers for the rear.
Got the UPR coilover kit for the rear. I have coilovers on the back of my car. It's a little different setup. This uses the stock location on the axle and on the body. Uses this adjustable coilover sleeve that slides over a regular Mustang shock. So we're gonna try those out.
We got the torque box reinforcements. Working on putting those in. And
we did the lower torque box reinforcement last year. We had to do that to get the subframe connectors in. So we knew we were going to be doing this winter. So we waited for the uppers because you need to pull the rear end out of the car.
Tubular control arms and spherical bushings.
Spherical bushings, and we're going to replace the stock rubber ones in the diff. Those are the upper control arms, double adjustable lower control arms. The Viking springs, 410 gears and 31 spline carrier that we got out of a Ford Explorer from the junkyard.
Part of the big 5-lug kit, 31 spline axle. So we got the axles and the caliper brackets.
Switching over to the 93 Cobra rear disc brakes. Shock bracket mounts, rear rotors,
Calipers.
and your new rear calipers. We're gonna get to it on this video. We did the front, we're gonna do the rear.
Yeah.
And then after this video, the motor and transmission comes out, do some upgrades there.
Yeah.
I'll show you what I did, what we started with. So here's our upper torque box reinforcement kit. This side goes on the bottom side. It goes just inside of where your upper control arm goes. And then this side goes on the inside of the car. You gotta pull out your rear seats, but this is the inside plate. Just squeezes that bracket. It'll go underneath here. Show you what we did to one side. It's got to come back out, but we just wanted to get it fitted up. Inside of the reinforcement plate, we got to pull it out. We got to get the proper length hardware, and we also have to remove the sound deadener on the inside of the car so we can lay some beads in there. So, but yeah, we just wanted to get it fitted. We had to drill these bottom 2 holes here and these 2 holes on the top there. They're existing, but you have to open them up slightly. The torque boxes, look, there's no damage, but considering this was a turbo 4-cylinder car most of its life, that's not too surprising. We're gonna keep plugging away on there. We'll get back at you. Riley's out getting hardware and paint, so in the meantime, we're gonna get these upper bushings out for him while he's away. I think he can get hardware and paint. Like, everything's on lockdown right now, so it's pretty stupid out there. So let's try and sawzall these off. And then I'm thinking sawzall one end, and then I'll use the air hammer and just pop them out that way. Finally got these bushings out. We polished up that inside surface there. A bit of a pain in the ass. The easiest thing to do is just take a drill and drill out around that rubber bushing and hammer the pin out, and then the rest of the bushing presses out, not so bad. Set the spherical bushing in, and I don't know what's wrong here, but it looks like they're possibly off, not for an 8.8 rear end, because they're definitely too wide. The part number on the instructions is right and everything, so I'm kind of baffled. I'll have to email UPR and find out what's going on there. Even the pictures of the ones for this diff on the internet, they physically look narrower than these, so who knows, maybe a factory mix-up. We're gonna do that, and then Riley's back with his hardware.
Yeah.
So we'll probably finish installing those upper torque box reinforcements, and Riley's got to peel away some of that sound deadening before those go in.
Weight reduction.
Well, man, we got to tack weld that plate in, so.
May as well take most of it off, though.
Might as well if you're in there, yeah. It's heavy stuff. So it's the next day. I sent UPR an email to try and figure out the spherical bushing dilemma. So in the meantime, we figured we'd move on to setting up the new 410 gears in Riley's differential. I don't know if you remember a video from last year, but instead of using a typical, we call it a crush sleeve, I ended up using we cut a titanium solid spacer to set up the preload for the pinion bearing. So first thing we noticed is the crush sleeve off the 410 pinion was like 20 thousandths thinner in free state than what was the solid spacer on Riley's 373s. Sure enough, we set in the 410 pinion with the titanium crush sleeve spacer, whatever you want to call it. And when we measure, we torque down the nut best we could with the impact. And it might not be truly accurate here, but basically we see that same 20 thousandths. It doesn't read quite 20 thousandths, but when I push it evenly and pull it evenly, it's 20 thousandths. So what I'm gonna do tomorrow is I'm gonna mill 20 thousandths off of that spacer slash crush sleeve. And theoretically that should give us the same preload, but I don't wanna go too much and have too much preload. So we're gonna start with taking 20 thousandths off, and we'll set the pinion back in, torque it down again, and we'll measure the preload on the bearing. In the meantime, other than that, what we have to do for the new carrier is order. When we took this one out, you can see the bearing wear and tear there on the race, and the outer race actually was equally as pitted. So we're gonna order 2 new carrier bearings. The pinion bearings on Riley's diff look good. The pinion roller bearings on the pinion bearing look good. So we're gonna get a couple new outer bearings for the carrier, and we'll get this pinion set up. We're gonna get a new pinion seal.
Yeah, a bit of a leak.
And a bit of a drip there. And I don't know, it's a part. Do we want to get new axle seals?
Sure.
I don't know. Those are easy enough to change. I mean, it didn't leak anywhere. Usually you'll see rain fluid on your wheel bearings or inside of the drum brakes. We didn't see any of that, so I don't know. Maybe we'll leave that alone and we'll just focus on the carrier and the pinion. So yeah, we'll get those bearings on order. I'll do some machining at work tomorrow. All right, so we received our Rock Auto order in the mail, which was the carrier bearings, which we went and pressed on yesterday. Our new pinion seal, which we just installed, and to set our backlash proper with this new set of gears, we got this shim kit, Richmond gear shim kit. So we've been fumbling around here for the last couple hours, in and out with the ring gear, and to the point where we feel comfortable. We got our backlash set. We also, I don't know if you can see, where's the pinion gear? We also, it's kind of wore off now, but we also checked the pinion spacing. Just used a white paint marker and rotated the gear around, and it looks like pretty much where we want to be. You don't want to start contact at the tip or the end of the tooth. You want to be somewhere in the middle, and that's pretty much where we are. If you want to play with that, then you've got to shim the pinion depth in or out. But I was kind of concerned with that because I had to take 20 thousandths off that pinion spacer, so I was kind of concerned that it might throw that out. But looking at the wear pattern here, looks like we're in good shape. So we're going to give this thing a final wipe down inside. Put the center section back in. We'll double check our backlash. We'll torque that down, and then we can start looking at sliding axles in. And getting the brakes on.
Getting
and
everything
getting
together.
getting everything in there. What we did find out for the spherical bushings, I contacted UPR, and the problem there was they're actually for a 4-link style 9-inch differential. So I guess the ear width is slightly wider there. So those are going to be for sale locally right away if anybody wants to pick those up. And in the meantime, we got the proper width spherical bushing on the way. So those should be here next week. Riley's got the torque wrench on. We're just torquing it down to 80. At the end of the day, it looks like we're going to end up with 9 thou backlash. And these 8.8s want what?
It's 8 to 12. There you go.
So yeah, we probably have, I don't know, I'm not sure what your axially you're supposed to have for preload, but I'd say we have a couple thou interference fit there because I had to tap these shims down, and this shim actually has a 5 thou shim behind it to have the right preload for the carrier bearings. And I kind of wish I had left like another 1/2 thou on the pinion spacer, but it's well under 20 inch-pounds. So Riley's just gonna double check now that we're torqued, double check the backlash. What I was gonna do, and I should have done, I mean, Riley's just running a stock cover for now, but I was gonna take these caps to work and just mill a flat on them, because if and when he ever switches over to like one of those cast rear end covers with the supports, he'll have a machine surface to support off of. So, but I didn't. It's another shoulda. The other thing we're thinking about doing is grinding off these quad shock mounts, because they do nothing now. So what do you got here?
That's 9 still.
9 still?
Yeah.
Sweet. Your first rear end.
Yeah.
How'd it feel? All right, so yeah, Riley's gonna get that cover on, and I think he's gonna give it a coat of paint, and then we'll slide the axles in and put the brakes on and see what has to happen there. Oh, the cat came back. It's my new cat. That's for the squirrels outside.
Yeah.
She's actually an employee of SPPTV, but she's actually a nice cat. Anyway, this isn't a cat channel. So it's the next day. Riley and I are just trucking along here, and today what we're gonna do is slide these new 31 spline axles in. But before we do that, we gotta do the same thing we did to the front rotors. We just gotta suck these wheel studs in. So why don't you grab a stock axle? That one's taller, obviously, because it's got the studs. So yeah, that's a factory 28 spline versus a 31 spline. And just for reference, the 28 spline is like 2 inches on the spline, and the 1.325 or so the actual axle diameter. 1 3/8 versus 1 1/4. So yeah, another 1/8 inch should help with the beefiness. I'm not sure the make of these axles. Usually a Moser or a Strange axle. We'll see what it. I'll have a sticker or something on the end of the flange, but not sure what make these are, but they look the part. So
Yeah.
let's hammer in these studs.
That's it.
Got these studs pulled in. That was easy enough. And in the meantime, Riley was painting his disc brake brackets, but in the meantime, I just slid an axle in just to see how it all fit. And well, I took the dial off, but ends up being that there's 70 thousandths of backlash. And I thought the problem might be the dimension from the end of the axle to the edge of the C-clip groove. But after doing a bit of research, it sounds like that on these 8.8 diffs, when the clutch packs wear in, that clearance grows considerably. So that may be our issue. I think we're gonna have to get a set of clutch packs for this rear end, and I mean, if we have to, we'll replace the number of the clutches that are in it. If we have to, we'll I think you can add a clutch or two actually to tighten up that posi a bit and tighten up the end play. So again, it's another problem that you run into. That it's a good thing we don't have to race next week. We got all winter. Lots of time. So yeah, like I say, I don't think it's a problem with the axles. I think it's a problem with this posi unit. I think the clutch packs are past their life. So yeah, if you can imagine with 70 thou in there, you start wiggling the car around.
You're gonna feel that.
Well, I don't know if you feel it. You might hear it. But yeah, that's not good. I mean, ideally, I would want something like 10 thousandths clearance or something like that in there. So it's got about 7 times that. So we'll get that fixed up, and in the meantime, what are we doing? We still got the
E-brake lines.
We got e-brake cables to figure out. His rear brake hoses should be here this week, so we're gonna have to modify his factory hard line to work with those brake lines. We'll get this rear end rebuild kit on order. And looking at the spider gears, they do show a little bit of wear, so maybe I'll order another set of spider gears too. I think they're somewhat cheap. And then you end up basically with a fresh rear end. All right, so for a couple more days here, I'll check you later in a couple days. How's my hair?
Okay.
All right. So we received our rock order. Holy shit! Your first rear end.
Yep.
How'd it feel?